recording now.
Good. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience. All right, approval of the minutes. I'm sorry, roll call.
President Weatherspoon.
Still here.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Here.
Trustee McManus.
Yes.
Trustee Stillman.
Yes.
Trustee Lambert.
Here.
Trustee Wishaw.
Here.
Approval of the minutes from Committee of the Whole, December 22nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of December 22nd, 2025.
Thank you, Nancy.
Second.
Who said second?
Michael.
Mike did? Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment, provide 2-minute opportunity for citizens to voice their opinions to the Committee of the Whole. Committee of the Whole cannot respond as it may conflict with open meeting requirements. Anybody?
Please sign in when you're done.
Yeah, you're on as
You're
an
on the
item,
agenda.
John.
For the 5 mile?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're actually on it. so
You're
you'll
on
be
the
able to-
agenda, so we'll let you speak at that time, if that's all right with you, Doc.
That works.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. All right, seeing nobody else, committee updates, planning commission, Nancy?
I don't believe we didn't have a meeting, and I think all the questions I've recently sent to Pete, I have reasonable answers on.
Very good, thank you. Parks and Rec, Holly?
We'll have some stuff coming to the next board meeting that we've been working on. Nothing in particular.
Utility District, Mr. Wishaw?
Same thing. Our next meeting is Thursday of this week, so I'll have
Okay.
something next month.
Very good. Fran, do you have anything from Racine County visit?
No, I missed them that last.
Nothing? I don't have anything either, we'll move through that quickly. Item 6, new business discussion on volunteer beautification committee. I think that was yours, Fran,
It was, but about a year ago.
a year ago?
It suddenly reappeared.
Well, now's your opportunity to discuss. What would you like to talk about?
I talked to Pete about this, and we can put this aside if you want. I talked to Pete about it because I told him that I had noticed there are several properties that are particularly attractive that I drive past. And I thought that, and I asked Pete if there was some way we could have some kind of a volunteer, I don't know what, committee that would, award people prizes or whatever. And he said that in Oak Creek, they had such a committee. So Pete, I'll turn it over to you. It was just a thought that I had. But we have so much negativity.
There
All
was
right,
the
well,
shuffle.
All right.
I didn't have
really thought
anything
that-
prepared. Oak Creek had it for about 3 to 4 years, and then you disbanded it after a while as people stopped submitting applications to the beautification.
To be on it.
So for the first few years, recognized some of the very obvious businesses and residents who did, go beyond the typical standard for landscaping or lighting, but it did eventually. They shelved it at some point as people were just becoming less and less submitting their applications. So, but that was like 6-7 years ago. Because I've been here now 6-7 years ago, so it was actually probably more like over a decade
Oh,
ago
okay.
that they had that. So, Brad, I really wasn't. I wish you would
I
give me a
was
little bit
surprised to
of
see it
heads
too.
up. I could have dug into my notes or in the past to see when that last committee was put together. I believe the mayor was the one that led that committee, and then they had residents that were appointed by the mayor. I believe that's how that worked, and so. I would have to go back and look and see and actually reach out to Oak Creek to see how they structured that, but I didn't have anything ready to be prepared tonight.
I didn't either because I was very surprised to see it reappear suddenly. I
right.
just thought there's so much negativity. Maybe it would be nice to have something positive about the village public.
Maybe it could be done without formality. I mean, I'm looking more to, we're doing more on, if we're talking about PR and stuff, that
Yeah.
if somebody mentions it, fine, they can post it and say, this was noticed by a citizen, but nothing formal.
Okay, so, we're gonna table that one for now, Fran. Is that all right with you?
That's
For
fine
another
with me.
year?
Okay,
came out of
6B,
nowhere.
discussion on solar panels.
Mr. President, if you could do
We'll
a
lay that over, yes.
formal motion, just so that, for the record, for the minutes,
I
about what's
will-
happening with that item.
I will make a motion to lay over 6A for a period of 8 months.
Huh?
Or we could just say to a later
Or-
meeting.
To a later
For a
meeting,
later
I like
date.
that better.
I don't hear a second.
Second.
Oh,
All in favor?
Definitely.
aye.
Okay. Solar panels, that's also you, Fran.
It is because obviously there's been a lot of talk about the increased cost of electricity. And I remember when this building was built, I asked about possible solar panels at the time, and I think that kind of didn't go anywhere, but I believe that the architect said that the building was set up so that solar panels could be used. So I thought maybe there was some cost-benefit analysis that would be possible to see whether our village electric bills could be cut by using solar panels.
I mean, there's the possibility, I don't know, I would have to actually see what that all entails as far as whether, so when I was in the village of Deerfield, they had solar panels on their police building and their sewer utility building. But the way that those worked was the village made payments to the provider for X amount of years, and then they were given to, then they were basically dedicated back to the village, for their use future. I don't know what those types of agreements look like outside of what I read in my previous experience with those. We would have to kind of go and look and see some of the providers. I mean, I could reach out to that company specifically. They're Wisconsin-based, but as far as who does that work and how they manage to do that, where it's either a completely upfront cost to the village for purchase of those things, or whether it's a lease
So,
buyback, so to speak, that's,
Todd, does staff have time to work on this at the moment?
I don't know that, I mean, it's a pretty daunting task. I could bring this, if you want to lay this over, and I could see what kind of agreements they have for something like that. I mean, and are we looking at just the public works building? Are we looking at public safety? Are we looking at village hall? Are we looking at all of them? I mean, those are going to be the things that they're going to want to know and would be the driver of interest level. So I guess if you're looking for me to do preliminary conversations and bring something back, I'd be happy to do that. I just would need to kind of understand what's everybody's interest and where am I looking, so that when I give them aerials, so that they can understand how big of space
Project.
they're dealing with, and then what that energy capacity or generation would look like, and how that works related to We Energies and the purchase. Because what I like when it comes to generation, there are limits to what you can generate and then sell back. I can get you all of that information, and you'd be able to review that if you'd like.
Mr. President,
Yes.
could I make a motion that we lay this over until,
Can you give me like
I-
2 to 3 months?
Yeah,
You
no,
can
that-
choose.
hold on, that we lay this over until at least July of 2026, so that any information Todd brings back to us would then dovetail into when we're getting ready to look at budgets, because this would be without cost, this would incur
Right.
cost. So if we're going to get the information, let's put it in place in time. And does July give you enough time, Todd? To have some preliminary
I
information?
can get something to get that preliminary information, and I can reach out to a couple different vendors and have them kind of detail what they'd be looking to do.
Is
And
it-
maybe I would even have the gentleman that did the that owns the company that did the providing in the village of Deerfield, that he would maybe come here, or his daughter. They both, started
That-
by producing the solar panels and then went into the generation.
So that's my motion.
To clarify, so you want this no later than July of 2026?
Correct.
Okay,
Second,
Second.
Frank can have it.
It's not a contest. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item C, review and discuss assignment of easement on Thomas Farms. Who would like to enlighten us on that?
Is that Elaine?
Mr. Schmidt?
Elaine may have minor input if necessary, but the short version is that this and the next item are some pieces to the overall Thomas Farms subdivision installation. The assignment of easement is more legal side of things, where we have an easement that was proposed across the tree farm property to connect to North Meadows Drive for both sewer and water connections to the future 5 Mile Road right of way. So that needs to get passed through committee and eventually the board, subject to legal review, and staff recommends approval of that, with that specific language in the motion.
Do you need that motion made?
Recommend approval to the village board, okay.
I move to recommend that to the village board. What?
I'll second.
Subject to legal review.
Subject to legal review.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Review and discuss quick claim deed, 5 Mile Road right away for Thomas at Thomas Tree Farm.
Same thing, but this is a little more straightforward, and this is just going to be the document that dedicates the portion of 5 Mile Road right of way that gets to the Klima ditch from the existing termination point.
This
west
also
of
has to go to the
October
board, is that correct?
Recommend to the village board, subject to the legal review.
I'll recommend to the village board, subject to legal review. Make a motion.
So, Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
didn't you say we had something on our agenda that would apply to Dr. Liebert?
Yeah, it's
That's
in the
coming
bottom.
up. It's on the
Oh,
agenda.
sorry,
7B.
sorry.
7B.
Okay,
Need a second.
I made a motion.
we need a second on Holly's
Second.
motion.
Mike is the second.
Mike? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving ahead. Suggested items to be placed on future meetings with no action, no discussion,
Yes.
no proliferation. Go ahead, Holly.
I have something, and I discussed it briefly with Todd. I sent it to Todd, and I CC'd Elaine. We have no ordinance on the age restrictions for CBD and THC gummy products and things like that in the village, allowing a child to essentially go into a gas station and buy them. So I've sent sample ordinances of our surrounding communities, and I'd like to review that at our next meeting.
Okay, so discussion
Of-
on
On a ordinance for age restrictions on CBD purchase, or how do we want to, that works.
Is that not regulated by the state?
It's
Don't-
not.
Yeah, don't we have a state?
No, I can guarantee you, we do not have it regulated by
Wow,
the state.
okay. I think we should talk about it.
Good
Yeah.
idea.
okay, got it.
Anything else? No. 7A, discussion on standing agenda items. I brought this up, so I'm gonna just try to wing through this. Sometimes, and we're all guilty of it, we throw things on here to see if the spam sticks, and I'd like it to us to be a little more cognizant about what we put on the new business part of the committee of the whole. So I would recommend that we at minimum have a motion or a suggestion made by an individual, but somebody else second that before it's put on the committee. And I'm really opening this for discussion tonight to see what your thoughts are. So does anybody have any comments or thoughts? Mr. Wishaw, did I see your hand?
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, Tom, so if I wanted something on next committee of the whole's agenda, I would make a motion, somebody to second that, we pass it. What happens if I've got something in between meetings? We wouldn't do anything with that, correct?
That would be correct. yeah.
Okay.
Did you have a comment, John?
Well, I mean, I guess part of what could help facilitate it too is if the parties that make the motion and also make the second, you know, if there's an item that you want and there's a motion and a second, maybe then those two trustees could sit down with staff,
Yeah.
right, and have a conversation that way when the item is placed under new business. You know, there's the adequate amount of information or however you want to do it. Or if it's just for discussion, then they can let staff know this is just a discussion piece amongst the committee of the whole. But if there's something that they're looking for from staff, I would say the two individuals that motion and second, that maybe they could come and, you know,
Have a sit
have a
down.
conversation with staff. That way it's a well-facilitated conversation.
Well, and thank you for saying that. One of the reasons I brought this up is because I think sometimes we just throw an idea out there and expect
Like
staff to just
beautification
jump and
committee.
do it.
Yeah.
We do.
Just to follow up on trustee Wishall's question about how things would get on the agenda in between meetings. So by code, for purposes of the committee of the whole, which is a committee of the village board, the ordinance reads that the chairperson of the committee shall be responsible for setting the agenda for the committee meeting. So for purposes of the committee of the whole, the ways that you've established by ordinance, the chair sets that agenda. There's no process for another member of the committee of the whole to request to the chair for something to be on the agenda. That is different than your board agenda, which does have a process that if two members, two trustees request something to go on the agenda, it's to be placed on that agenda. Just to clarify, there are different rules for the committee of the whole.
So
Yes.
are you saying though, I'm a little confused. If it you have somebody makes a motion and somebody seconds it, then don't we have to vote? Aren't
Well,
we in
that-
effect voting on the whole thing?
Well, that is an operational rule that the committee of the whole could establish for how you handle the item on your agenda, which is entitled suggested items to be placed on future meeting agenda. You've had a very loose rule that if any of your members request something,
Right.
it gets placed.
Right.
What I heard your president say is that he would like to establish a process where you have one member say, I move to add this to the next
Mhm.
agenda, and there's a second. I don't know.
And then it just goes without a full vote?
Well, that would be my question. Would you take a vote on it, or just to have basically two members say, yes, I want to talk about this on the next
I would
meeting
prefer to have a
agenda?
vote on it, but I don't think that's realistic. I think it's more realistic to have, I guess what I'm getting at is I'd like to have all of us at least have a partner that we've talked about.
Yeah.
So the subject's been brought up already and
Yeah.
we've aired it out before we got to the meeting.
Don't we have to be careful with
Yeah.
walking
Yeah.
quorum?
I'm just two people, not a board.
I
Well, I
know,
know,
but you don't know who I might call Holly about something and say, what do you think of? And then I might talk to Lee, and now I'm getting close to that border.
That is incumbent. It's a good point. You need to be careful about not creating a walking quorum when you're asking if somebody would support your addition of something on the agenda.
So
You'd
was
have
it,
to only ask one
Okay.
person, I think, in order not to have a walking quorum.
Not necessarily. I mean, you're a body of 7, so if you've talked to 2 other people, that doesn't necessarily automatically create a walking quorum, but you need to use care about that. I think you could also follow the process that you bring it to the meeting, and at the meeting, if another member on the committee says, well, yeah, I like that idea, I'd like to talk about it, you've got your 1 and your 2.
Right. Holly?
I don't know if I like that idea. I think our board agenda is set where we have the process that we follow and we respect that. And I think the committee of the whole is kind of for us to, this is the first time I see a lot of you. I don't talk with a lot of you during the week, partly because, well, we're not really supposed to, but then also just because I work all the time. And so I'm usually like to think I'm thoughtful. I mean, in my process, and haha, hey, we got our tar controlled. Our CBD is gonna get controlled. I'm slowly getting here. But I think the committee of the whole is kind of where we step back a little bit and talk a little bit more casually, and we have ideas that we put out there that matter to us as
Right.
elected officials. And so I don't know if I want,
A process.
because then it'll go on the agenda because we're not supposed to discuss it, right? So like I just put out there what I wanted on the next agenda, but we can't discuss it. So someone might not agree with me. And then the opportunity will be on the next agenda to talk about it. If we don't like it, we shoot it down and we don't talk about it again.
Well, I think
don't
we're
know.
back down to discussing what was the intent and what's the value of committee of the whole.
Let me answer that, because my intent was that sometimes we're all guilty of it. We throw stuff out there and send staff off on some tangent.
But I think, okay, so then that should be different. But like, I think the topic to just come up on the next one, I don't think we should be having staff, like with the ordinance I just asked for. I don't expect that next week. That's just something I want you to work on and present when you have time. So I think maybe we could bring up a topic and a suggested timeline for staff.
Well, which
Does
we
that make
just
sense?
did on the solar panels. We
Yeah.
said, it might have value, but it's not appropriate now.
But
and
the
we don't
solar
wanna
panels
bug-
got brought up last week to be on this, or last meeting
Correct.
to be up on this.
Correct.
Okay.
But
When a
I'm,
suggestion comes up, what if we say we give our suggestion in an expected timeline?
How about if we put this on the next committee of the whole? and you
Yeah.
can-
Let's
Give you
leave this
time to think
over.
about it,
I have thought about it, that's
Okay.
my opinion.
and
I don't
Make
disagree
a
with that.
motion, we
I'm-
do
I'm-
this
fill it now.
the next
I
meeting.
make a motion to move item 7A over to the next meeting, which will be on January 27th. And everybody, please put their thinking caps on, 10 or
Yeah.
otherwise, and
And
think
bring your
about it.
spam.
Yep, bring your
bring the spam
spam.
filter.
Bring your spam folder.
Second.
Hold on. January 27th, Committee of the Whole, we're discussing Title 14, Chapter 3, and the goal
Yeah.
of
I got an
those
issue
was
with
to
that.
have that as the only item
only
on the agenda.
subject.
That way
Yeah.
we can have a fruitful conversation about the direction of that.
So
So
bring your
if we could
spam
do it to the
another one.
Bring
Would
your
that
spam
be-
filter.
February 17th, I think, based on the
February
new schedule.
17th would be the next
What's the date?
one. Oh, wait, no, because
No, we just
we would be
changed them.
skipping the
Changed
third. The
Uh-huh.
February 17th would be yet another plan, essentially Plan Commission Committee of the Whole. So this would be
March
not
3rd.
until
March.
March 3rd.
March 3rd.
Is
I'll
that
second that to
acceptable?
move it to March 3rd.
March 3rd, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not even gonna ask again, so, okay. Dr. Liver, respectfully, I'm gonna rebuttal what you say, so be prepared.
That's fair.
Yep.
Included Senator Wongard's request to lower the speed limit on 5 Mile Road. This is our president, our village
I need you
president's.
to speak in the microphone. otherwise
Sure,
it's a-
this is our village president's response to that request. I understand you have 2 minutes to talk. I'm gonna
Oh,
start.
you
my-
got
Well,
more.
wait,
You
no,
got
this
more.
is not-
No, you gotta, go
That's
ahead.
why we wanted you to
Okay.
come to this.
I-
schedule.
You're unlimited.
I can just go.
Yeah, go.
Oh, that's good. I
Yeah,
would
within
have-
reason, not an hour and a half, okay?
But
Yeah.
let's move the microphone up a little bit closer. Thank you.
Sure.
It's then. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Sorry, I would have had a lot more prepared. All right, so I'm here because the village is choosing to keep an excessive 45-mile-per-hour speed limit on 5 Mile Road, feeding directly into the most dangerous intersection in the village at 5 Mile and Highway 38. Wisconsin's Facilities Development Manual, called the FDM, sets speed limit guidelines based on roadway terrain. On this segment of 5 Mile, 45 miles per hour is not compliant with the FDM. 35 miles per hour or less is. That's the entire issue. Now here's what happened. The DOT came here to build a roundabout because of the crash history, and that's fine. But while designing it, they identified that the village's speed limit on 5 Mile is too high for the terrain. Our state senator asked the village to lower it. Village president said no. The DOT cannot change your speed limit. Only you can. So your refusal forces the DOT into the only remaining option they have, which is to cut and regrade 1,000 feet of hill on 5 Mile Road, remove the 5 Mile Road, rebuild 5 Mile Road with a 500-foot concrete splitter lane, and take up to an acre of my land through eminent domain. This can easily be a 7-figure taxpayer bill, triggered by your one decision, keeping an excessive speed limit instead of lowering it by 10 miles per hour. And let's call this what it is. It's laziness, it's stubbornness, forcing taxpayers to fund the hard, expensive thing so you can avoid the simple fix. I honestly don't understand how anyone involved can be comfortable with this. Keeping a known safety violation at the village's most dangerous intersection and making taxpayers fund $1 million road rebuild to avoid changing a sign. This was explained to all of you last month. Stop kicking the can. If a known excessive speed limit takes months of meetings and letters to fix, how does anything get done in this village? At this point, your inaction is deliberate, and it increases crash risk and legal exposure for this village. If you keep 45 miles per hour, then you own what you're choosing. Higher risk, higher cost, and avoidable eminent domain. This is poor governance. Fix the speed limit here, please, and thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah.
So,
Could-
if I may, there hasn't been, it's not a vacuum of information. I've made several phone calls to the Department of Am I not being recorded? And I've talked to our village engineer about this, and I've had several conversations with him. The premise of lowering the speed limit doesn't resolve the sightline issue going east on 5 Mile. And the DOT is determined that they're going to cut that hill down no matter what to improve the sightline into the intersection. Now, as a physician, I'm sure you are more worried about life safety than you are about the speed limit. And that's what the DOT is talking about. That their opinion is that improving the sightline into the intersection will greatly reduce the accident potential there. And that they're sticking to it. They've already bid it that way. They're already moving ahead with it that way. Now, I'm sorry your property is impacted by that and your driveway has to move. But this is the DOT's decision. It's not ours. Lowering the speed limit is not going to change anything. Our own police chief is against changing the speed limit.
Why is that?
He doesn't think it'll do anything, and I personally don't think it'll do anything either. People, you can't just change the speed limit in front of your house. And that's what you're asking us to do.
So you think this is more just personal benefit? That's
Yes, I definitely do.
Okay. So there are two separate issues which I think are being confused. Whether the roundabout's there or not, if there's no roundabout there, this speed limit is still excessive. The state's FDM, they set the guidelines for all the speed limits in the state based on your sight distance. Okay. Now, obviously, speed and sight distance are related. Okay. Now, if you have a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit in this case, you need 600 feet of stopping distance. Here, there's 500 feet. To satisfy the stopping sight distance requirement in the FDM, you need a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit here. When the DOT originally came to design this roundabout and got your approval years ago, the roundabout construction footprint was a lot less than it is now. It only expanded down 5 Mile Road towards the bridge because the DOT recognized that the speed limit here is excessive. It's 45 mile per hour. They cannot go in and build a roundabout with a known FDM violation feeding into it. So now their option, as State Senator asked, is to reduce the speed limit here so that 5 Mile Road complies with the FDM. The other option, since the DOT can't change your speed limit, is they can level the entire hill and make it compliant with your excessive speed limit. The only time that I can think of where that type of construction process is rational is on an interstate where you set the speed limit and then you level everything to match that speed limit. Nowhere else in the village are we saying, let's have an excessive speed limit and then level the land so that we can keep our excessive speed limit. But that's what's being done here.
Do you
It's
think it's
triggering.
practical to ask our citizens to drive 35 miles an hour on 5 Mile Road? You think that's a practical solution?
Leading up to the most dangerous intersection in
You
the
think
state.
that's a practical solution, Doctor?
That's exactly what the DOT said when I met with them. Yes.
Go ahead.
So the roundabout's going in regardless. I mean, that's.
It's going in this year. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So as long as we know that us not lowering the speed limit doesn't mean that a roundabout.
No, it actually
in.
simplifies the design because it's 1,000-foot
Do
less
you have-
It's
construction.
already designed, Doctor. It's
You
already
have-
designed and already
It's
out for bid.
designed and redesigned and
Hold on,
redesigned. Yes.
Do you have, so to me, operating in this, the way we are right now, we've heard from DOT, right, as a board, as they've done presentations. Do you have, right now, what you're telling us is what DOT is, we call that here, do you have something from DOT that says if we lowered the speed limit, that would change the way they create this roundabout? Because you're telling us.
Sure.
and
I'm
who am I
telling
to
you
say
the
that-
same thing.
I'm not saying you're lying to us, but what I'm
Yes.
saying is we're telling you what DOT has told us because they've been here and they've presented it that way,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
DOT has not told us as board members, if you lower the speed limit, we won't do this.
I don't
If
think
they
that was
come
what-
before us and tell us that and offer that as a solution,
I've talked to the chief up there more.
well, what I'm saying is, do you have a letter from them? Do you have something that you could give us to show us proof that you've had this conversation?
Sure.
If we
So-
lower.
So Senator Van Wangard's letter requesting a speed limit change came from the exact same meeting when I met with the DOT.
But Senator Wungard isn't DOT.
No, he's obviously a state employee, but that came from the exact same meeting where I met with the project supervisor, the consulting engineer, the DOT engineer, the appraisers, the assessors on site. And what they told me is the only reason for the hill leveling is the speed limit. That's the only single metric that's triggering this
Can you
entire
get- Can we
expansion.
get something in writing from Department of Transportation that says that?
Yeah, I don't see why not, because that's
But-
what they told the senator and I.
Okay,
I think you're right on asking that. I will go back to the meeting we had with DOT, because I remember Ryan brought in some questions, some concerns that staff had, we had on the overall project. If DOT, I also think we should get from DOT as a statement through to us, a written document, same as you're saying on this side. We need to see that DOT is absolutely saying that if we lowered that speed limit, it would not change the site hill leveling. So, I mean, we're kind of saying, it's up
We
in
need
the air
it.
here, this one's saying this, here's saying that, but
but I
I
think
agree
we
with you,
have
we
what
need to
you're
see the
asking
documents.
for from Ryan. What is your thought on, or what is your communication with DOT?
Well, there's a handful of things. I think going all the way back to September of 2023, the reconstruction of the road was proposed past Dr. Liber's property to the west. So the reconstruction of the hill has always been part of that overall scope of the project. I've been involved in this project pretty much since I've
Yeah.
started here as an employee, and not once have they come to me and said anything or presented any information regarding reducing the speed or anything of that nature. This is only new to me. I wasn't at the last meeting, but Mr. Liber called me one time, and I even presented to him a couple months ago that I have not heard a single thing about it. So the DOT has not presented that, and in regards to if they're designing the road to fit the speed limits, because the classification of the roadway per the FDM that's being referenced is the speed limit's justified for the functional classification of the roadway. 5 Mile Road is 45 miles an hour east all the way back to 31, and then going all the way west. There's a reason it's posted 45, and for them to do the road and design the road at 45 makes perfect sense based on what the road is posted at. Now, there's I think there's a total of 7 houses along that entire stretch between Nicholson and State Highway 38. Just like we did with 4 Mile Road, if you're looking to justify the modification or the design and establishment of a speed limit per the FDM and per the DOT and per state statutes, you need an engineering and traffic study. Now, if the DOT is going to present a engineering and traffic study that justifies the modification of the speed limit from 45 to something else, they can present that, and that's information that we and you as a governing body, as the village board, can then take to modify the speed limit, modify the ordinance that we have, because this is a regulatory speed limit. This is not a statutory speed limit. We have the jurisdiction to control that, and that's what he's referring to. But anything else beyond that may be referred to as potentially an advisory speed limit, which an advisory speed limit is something that you see on 4 Mile that tells you, hey, this curve's tight. Take maybe just this curve at 25 miles an hour, but the grand scheme of the corridor and the functional classification of that roadway dictates the specific speed limit. Again, it's 45 miles an hour all the way back to 31 west. If someone has an engineering and traffic study that will justify that, you guys can review that at that time along with staff and then can make recommendations. But at this time, the DOT has never presented that to me and has, like I said, for the last 3+ years been reconstructing this roadway westerly, which if we all remember, that's why we didn't want to, or I did not want to allow a driveway on that south side because it violated our ordinance and didn't make sense for the proposed design that the roundabout was going to be, the impact that that roundabout was going to have on the property.
So are you able to get us something? Because we invited you here, right? We spoke personally. I wanted to hear your side of the story. It's just and I respect Senator Wongard and the relationship you've had with him and how he's helped you with this, but Senator Wongard doesn't work for Department of Transportation, and so are you able to provide this board, this body, with something to consider a change? Because I don't think we would be opposed to that if DOT says this is what we're like this is what's preventing this from happening. We're reasonable, and I think that would be fair.
Sure. Yeah, I don't see why not unless they backtrack on what they've told us. So,
And that would be something that you're going to have to hold their feet to the fire for, right? Like if they do backtrack. So
they all seem very honest and reasonable. I don't see why they would back away from this. And again, there were many people there. I don't think that they would change course. The only reason they would change course is because This is scheduled for later this year. It's tied to government funding, which expires. So this project is going forward one way or another. That's why time is of the essence here. If we continue to delay, this is going forward with the hill cut. And so there will be a point where they say, it doesn't matter what happens, we're going to have to build as is.
But I work in facts and evidence. That's my daily job.
No,
Facts and evidence.
I
So
like
I need
that.
I need a fact, not just hearsay, not that I don't trust you, but I need a fact that shows me that DOT has said this to you and it would be a viable option for this board to consider, if that makes sense.
Sure. So I'll talk to the DOT and get them to, I guess, put in writing what they told me. And then I'll just send it to you and
I
then,
think that's reasonable.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I,
I'll-
I think you don't need to wait for the next meeting to produce it. Just as soon as you get it, then email it to the clerk.
email
I
it to
would
you.
say.
Ryan.
Email it to Ryan, he can
Yeah.
share it with
Well,
all of
it-
us.
well, I
Excuse me,
mean-
Mr. Schmidt has,
I do know that there have been a number of
Excuse me.
iterations.
Mr. Schmidt has the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the record, I mean, if there's been a meetings regarding the speed limit separate from staff and only individual with the property owner, it would only make sense to me that they would have presented that to the village engineer and or village staff in some way, shape or form. Like I said, that has not happened. But separate from that, an email that they had a conversation about this isn't what you're looking for. Again, what you're looking for based on state statutes is not denying that the conversation has not happened, but you're looking for an engineering and traffic study that justifies the necessity and the proof that you're going to change the speed limit for a reason. They are designing the road to improve, like you said, sight distance, line of sight, improve the overall impact of this intersection. And it already has a reduced speed limit. You have to go 15 miles an hour through the roundabout. That's going to be posted hundreds of feet in advance of the roundabout. The high point of the intersection is probably right around where they're going to actually place that advanced warning. But you're going to have to get that information. That's what the DOT guidelines actually have on their website, and the FDM, they actually have an entire speed limit speed limit setting handbook. You know, it's probably way more pages than anybody wants to ever go through.
Well, we
But-
went through this with 4 Mile. when
And
we were
again,
talking
yes,
about
we,
4 Mile.
when we've changed the speed limit, the only ones we've changed have been ones that came with evidence to support that justification through an engineer and a traffic study, or the DPW put the wrong sign on the street thing. So those are the only two we've changed since I've been here. So that's what we need, not just an email that says they think it could be changed. Just making sure everybody's clear on what that has to say.
So FDM violations need traffic studies then as well. Because in this case, the FDM is very clear for anybody that reads it, that the stopping sight distance from the hill to the intersection is not adequate. It's not compliant.
But they're fixing that
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
at the DO with the highway safety improvement.
Right, so
program
they're
funding.
fixing it because the speed limit's excessive for that terrain. That's why I'm here. If we change the speed limit, then it's within FDM compliance. The FDM just read. I'm not listening.
Where,
Not sure. Pay
No,
attention
so
to
the
this.
the FDM requires a 500-foot stopping sight distance, which is what's there, at 45 miles an hour, or for 35 miles per hour. At 45 miles per hour, it requires 600-foot stopping sight distance. Well, my question is, if we're a FDM non-compliant section, do you still need that whole traffic study, or can you just look at the facts and say FDM requires this speed limit for this terrain?
Well, I feel like we're kind of cherry picking one specific stat because, I mean, if we were to go around the village and follow every single statistic the FDM recommends, I could bet you we could find a lot of them around, especially on rural roadways that were built for farm access and specifically for farmers all over that area. To get through.
Probably in this case, it's triggering $1 million hill cut.
I think the roundabout's triggering $1 million
Hill cut.
hill cut that was pointed out by also at the time, I remember these individual meetings, not the individual, the overall meeting, that was a specific concern of many drivers of that area. They actually brought that up to DOT staff and said, have you guys looked at this? Because driving eastbound on 5 Mile Road, approaching that intersection, you can't see the intersection
until you're over the hill.
yeah, until you're past the hill. And now when you actually look at the traffic accidents and incidents, that's not necessarily the direct result of all of those incidents. You know, the direct result is people who think they can clear the gap when someone's coming in at 60 northbound on them and they think they are fast enough and they're not. That doesn't solve the issue at hand, which is they speed limit is functionally classified at 45 or probably even greater based on where they're located, based on the density, based on the functional, like I said, classification of that 5 mile, like a principal thoroughfare and arterial roadway. And they are designing it and they're making it fit the speed limit that should be posted there for the entire corridor as a whole.
I think
Ryan, I want to add to that, because I talked to the head of DOT in Milwaukee twice now about this. They're going to cut the hill down no matter what, because they're worried about life safety issues in that intersection. So regardless of the speed limit, I mean, actually, that was his comment. I don't care what the speed limit is, we're cutting the hill down so people can see the intersection. Now, I think that's pretty clear.
Like I said, MUTCD on the DOT's exact words are literally that, like a non-statutory speed limit be established on the basis of an engineering study in accordance with traffic engineering practices. As a professional engineer, once again, I have, there's been one after another in regarding this area where we've allowed a secondary driveway on a property that didn't meet ordinance, and now it's also being impacted because of this as well. I would strongly encourage that we have a traffic engineering study with a professional engineer be done, and usually the DOT would, I would recommend that they'd have that already done because they did an entire study to install a roundabout. So if they have that, they can produce it. But if it recommends the changing of a regulatory speed limit that we have jurisdiction over, we can review that at that time.
So can we,
so. Can I ask who this DOT head is that you spoke with in Milwaukee?
I'm sorry, what's the guy in Milwaukee's
Tony.
Tony?
Oh, maybe it was.
Pressure's on.
Wake
I
up,
don't
Tony.
remember his, I don't know why, I can't remember his name. The head of the DOT in Milwaukee.
Justin, the engineer?
Justin.
He's the one who told me this.
Sudyam is the one
Yeah.
that's on, he's the project manager for the roundabout stuff.
He's the one who said if the speed limit changes, then, so this is perfect. I'll talk to him, I'll talk to Janet, who's the supervisor for this entire project, and I'll get this in writing, because he's the one who said that this speed limit violation is what triggered the hill cut. It's the single metric, it's
So
the only
I'm
reason.
gonna back up, Doctor.
Sure.
You're actually asking us to lower a speed limit on a road
That doesn't
instead of
comply.
improving life safety issues for everybody else.
No, see, you're twisting things.
No, I'm not.
You-
No, I'm not.
You absolutely are, because speed limit and sightline distance are directly related. If they're going 1 mile an hour over that, if you set the speed limit to 1 mile an hour, you don't need 600 feet to stop. You don't need 500 feet to stop. Stopping sight distance is directly related to the speed. If you lower the speed, all those complaints that Ryan had earlier, where people are like, "Hey, are you going to do something about that hill because that intersection comes up too quick?" That goes away because you set an appropriate speed based on the state's FDM. The state's guidelines show that this segment is too fast. Roundabout or not, the segment is too fast and excessive for that stretch of road.
You
It's
tell me
the-
you only drive 35 miles an hour on your own road.
I always go the speed limit, Mr.
Speed
Weatherston.
limit is 45.
So, but I think
Which
what we're
is
asking
excessive.
for is what Ryan told us what we need. If you can produce what,
Right.
the documentation that we've discussed,
Then we have
then
something to look at.
then we have a definite, so so let me get this. If we make a motion to put this on the agenda for next week, or next
Next
meeting,
meeting.
pending your proof,
The next available meeting is March.
What?
Because of the next two meetings will be solely used for the plan commission
Well,
review.
we didn't exactly.
Well, we
agree
didn't,
to
I don't
that.
think we
well, I
agreed
think
to
if
that.
he submits the
That
proof
was
though,
what
we
was
can,
planned.
No, we were told.
if he submits the proof, we can talk about it.
Can
then.
we not
Yeah.
put it on the agenda rather, we were told that we were going to do this with the committee as a whole. We didn't vote on that. Can
Correct.
we not add this to the next meeting, even though we're doing the,
If he provides the proof
if he
that we're
provides
asking
it, he
for.
could come in, we can have the discussion, even though we're doing the other ordinance discussion. Can't we do that?
That would be up to the committee of the whole. If you want to put this on your next meeting agenda, if he provides that documentation, if you pass a motion to that effect, then it'll show up on that meeting or the next meeting after he provides that information.
Since time is of the essence, I think, according to what Dr. Leiber's saying.
We need to move or stop.
Hold on a minute. We agreed,
Right.
we agreed that we're, that special meeting for just review of the, ordinances,
and
the next meeting is
I don't rem, I
When
don't,
did we agree to that? We got a memo telling us that's what was gonna happen.
I don't think we
We
agreed
didn't
either.
agree to it.
That was discussed at the committee of the whole meeting where you guys decided not to refer that review to the plan commission and to take that on yourself. That was the meeting that was discussed.
I understand that,
But
but
we didn't
we're
say
gonna
to
have
take
to,
up a whole meeting.
we have to understand that this is an issue that needs to get addressed now and either put to bed or discussed as he's asking us
We're
to
just
do
saying,
so.
put it on the
Just
meeting.
letting you know
27.
what
And
was
so,
next available per our.
I make a
previous
motion that if Mr. Liber provides the documentation to the clerk as I've asked, that this go on the next agenda.
discussion.
Second,
To Ryan and you, how about both? Clerk and Ryan,
Jennifer.
so
And I
that
will-
she knows that you've provided it. If you don't provide it, we have to put it on the agenda
Of March.
For
in March.
Okay.
And I will second that motion.
Ryan, you got another comment?
I just was going to reference that the Facilities Development Manual for Wisconsin was established in 1979, so that if there's chances that roads were built prior to that, more than likely, like these
Like these.
main big thoroughfares, they probably all didn't follow very specific FDM guidelines at that time because they didn't exist, so.
That makes
So Ryan,
sense.
I'm gonna ask you to do me a favor. Dr. Libra's gonna get some written documentation. Will you do the same thing from the DOT?
I reached out last week to Justin Sudyam for any traffic studies that they have. I've not received any feedback from him yet since
Have you
last week.
discussed this issue with him?
Will I discuss it with him?
Yeah,
Have you?
Have I?
yeah.
With me?
Sudyam, no.
Would you?
Oh, yeah, I can reach out again and follow up.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
I need that motion.
Yeah,
clarified.
I make a motion to lay this over to our next committee of the whole,
Okay.
providing that the documentation that we've requested from DOT is provided to both you and our village engineer. If not, the matter will be put on the,
March
no, I'm sorry.
Okay. So to lay the item over to the next meeting, providing the resident provides proper documentation to the village engineer and the village clerk.
Correct.
And we have a second.
I did.
And I have a question. Ryan, what did you say was built in 79? I missed that.
The Facilities Development Manual that the state DOT uses as like the
Oh,
design
okay.
framework was
Okay.
established in 1979, therefore
All right.
probably a
I-
lot of the design standards on 5 mile,
Okay.
6 mile, 4 mile,
I
probably
wanted,
didn't follow.
wanted to clarify that because I've lived in the village my whole life and I remember 5 Mile being there most of the
I'm
time.
sure it's been there a lot longer than I've been around.
Okay, all right, but I have another comment. So
Hey,
I know we don't want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I've lived in village all but 3 years of my life. Highway 38's been the same, to my knowledge, the entire time. When I was young, there was very few accidents. We discussed this 10 or 12 years ago as a board. DOT was here, they gave us the statistics that showed that accidents at that intersection have gone up significantly in the last 10 or years or so with the advent of cell phones. So that sightline, to my knowledge, hasn't changed a bit. So years ago, there's hardly any accidents there with that sightline, and now we're gonna take the sightline out because that caused the accidents in the last 15 years. I'm sorry, Tom, I'm not buying into
Well,
that.
you said it was a contributing factor.
Well, it's a contributing factor, but the other contributing factor, the bigger one, in my estimation, is misuse of cell phones. People playing on those stupid phones. I see it every day. So years ago, Highway 38 wasn't an issue, and now it is, and we're treating the symptom. We're not addressing the real problem. And
Yeah.
that is what I think Mr. Lieber is suggesting as well. When I go up 5 Mile Road, when I go east on 5 Mile, when I approach where Howard Stacy's driveway is, there's 2 big hills right
All I'm
there.
asking for is proof that.
Are we gonna
DOT has
knock
said
those
this.
down too?
That's all.
I mean,
Okay,
my wife is from Connecticut. I've driven a lot in the northeast states because I worked out there. There isn't a straight road in all of Connecticut, New Hampshire, or Vermont. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they don't take out they don't take out hills. They slow the traffic down to make it navigable. In here, we're doing the opposite. When people come and I say, yeah, we got to fix this road because it's curvy, and they just laugh at it when they're from out east because you go to those states, the New England states, and they're all curvy.
go south.
And
Yeah,
Mr. Wishaw,
we're addressing the symptom, not the problem.
Mr.
It's
Wishaw, you're
sad that
right.
we're doing this, and he's going to lose property because of it. It's stupid.
The accidents at the intersection, I have all the accidents for the last 6 years on camera. And the accidents at the intersection are from that not being a right angle intersection. So that acute angle causes people to lose sight of the oncoming cars in most of the cases.
I agree. And again, 10 to 15 years ago, the DOT wanted to come down here and reroute Highway 38.
Right.
Cut through all sorts of farmland west of it, make a straight line, and the reasoning was, well, it's got to be a straight road to make it safe.
It just makes it faster.
And once again, addressing the symptom, not the problem. And I tried to explain to the board at the time, you realize what happens if they reroute that road and now we own 38? We don't have enough money to maintain our roads now. Now we own Highway 38, we'd have to maintain that road as well. It was stupid. Luckily, we stopped it, but I can't stand this addressing symptoms and not problems. I don't know what you do about cell phones, but it's obvious to anybody with a clear thinking mind and their eyes open that cell phones misuse is the problem. I see it every day, people swerving down the roads. It's not because they're drunk, it's because they're playing on their stupid phone. I wish I could give every one of them an electric shock.
Oh, jeez.
All right,
I'm
well,
done.
We're all
I'm done
tired
with my
now. We're
rant,
all
Tom.
tired now. All right. Before Lee gets arrested.
Are you sure you're done?
I just
sure
want to
you're
say
done?
I
Okay,
agree.
thank you, Dr. Levin, for being here. Thank you very much.
I live on 5 miles.
When's the
I drive
deadline for me to
regularly.
submit this? When's the next meeting?
The next meeting,
27th, January 27th.
January 27th.
January-
That's
Okay.
the next meeting date. Yes.
All right, thank you.
We are adjourned.
All right.
Oh, thank God.
But they're